Hello, welcome into the CHGO White Sox Podcast, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, the full CHGO White Sox crew. That is Vinnie Duber. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. And the man in the middle is Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow Herb at Ectorwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. On today's show, we are going to be talking about the breaking news from last night. Sources are saying that the White Sox are in serious talks to acquire a new parcel of land in the South Loop of Chicago and possibly building a new stadium there. We will discuss it. We'll discuss the plot of land. We'll discuss, will the Skyline be featured in the ballpark's background? A lot to talk about there. And then we actually really didn't talk about what else we were going to talk about. We really didn't. Do we have?
This is going to take up some time, I would imagine.
You think this is going to be something that we could spread our legs on?
I think so.
All right. So sit back, relax, hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate you hanging out with us. And thank you to Sarah for producing the show. Hi, Sarah. Again, show Sarah that you appreciate her hard work. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit subscribe.
Thumbs up for Sarah.
Thumbs up for Sarah. Is there a Bulls game tonight? There might be.
I think so. There's definitely a Blackhawks game.
Definitely a Blackhawks game.
Yeah, that got moved.
On CHGO Sports, we got you covered with pre- and post games for any team that's currently going on. They're talking about Cliff Kingsbury possibly being the OC on the CHGO Bear Show. We got you covered even on our Discord if you are CHGO diehard. So if you are looking for sports coverage for your town, Chicago, check out allchgo.com.
And let me do this real quick at the top of the show. I might do it at the end of the show as well, too. Want to do another diehard mailbag over at allchgo.com. So if you diehards have questions for me that I can answer for you about the White Sox or whatever, go ahead and send them my way, be it on Twitter, be it in that Discord, the CHGO Lounge, or any way you can get them to me.
And tag Vinny on it. At Vinnie Duber.
Absolutely.
On the Discord, please.
I'll drop another mention in there later tonight to our wonderful inhabitants of the Discord, but figured I'd throw it out on the show as well.
Absolutely, and if you're not a part of it yet, level up your fandom, head over to allchgo.com, become a diehard. You get this lovely box. You get a brand new T-shirt of your choice. You get stickers, a membership card, and access to the Discord where you can chat with our guy AJ and all of our diehards and ask Vinny an AMA question. All right, let's jump in. So last night, sometimes around like 10, I texted. It was maybe around 7.
It was like 7.
Earlier,
yeah.
I texted you guys hello.
It was before dinner. It was before I ate dinner, so it couldn't have been too late.
7:30.
There you
still,
go.
I mean, it was kind of late dinner.
I had a
for
late
you.
dinner, yeah.
Okay, all right. What'd you have?
For dinner last night, my wife made ribs.
Ooh, very
Yeah, it
nice.
was very good. Ribs and baked potato.
Oh, nice. I had a very American meal too. I had beef stew.
There you go.
You know,
Delicious.
so as I was sitting down to eat some beef stew, Sun-Times released this piece saying the White Sox are in serious talks to acquire the 78 parcel of land, which is 62 acres along a half a mile of riverfront property, and it is located just north of Ping Tom Memorial Park in Chinatown and extends to Roosevelt and Clark. You have been there recently when it was a lot warmer out. What did you make of the view? What did you make of the plot of land? And what do we make of these serious talks? Because there was even the Nashville scare at the winter meetings.
Well, listen, I think first and foremost, the thing to realize is, we walked in here today for our show about an hour or so ago, and folks who are not on the show were coming up and saying hi like they do every day. And what was the first thing they said? Hey, something to talk about. Something to talk about. It's been a slow-moving off season, so hey, here's something to talk about. And I think right now the main point that I want to make is that's what this is, something to talk about. Mm-hmm. It is not necessarily going to happen or going to happen soon. Serious talks is something, as the Sun-Times reported, but let's remember all the various hurdles that the Bears have faced in the years, plural, since they have sought a new stadium. We don't even know if the White Sox are going to end up leaving Guaranteed Rate Field when the lease is up a whopping 6 years from now, or perhaps a little more than 5 years from now, I should say. But the idea that this is going to happen tomorrow and that this is a sure thing we're talking about, we're far away from that. That being said, listen, anybody who's been down to the South Loop has probably seen this giant piece of land because it is, I believe, one of the largest undeveloped pieces of land in the city. This is a view of it that Sarah is showing you right now from the northern end of Pingtao Memorial Park in Chinatown, which, by the way, if you haven't been, a lovely park, a lovely place to spend a beautiful summer afternoon down there in Chinatown, but right on the river. And as you can see, that is an undeveloped piece of land, but looking right at the Chicago skyline. That is a really nice view from that park, and it would only get better as you move further north through that big, giant piece of land that has railroad tracks running right through the middle of it. If you've ever driven east toward the lake along Roosevelt Road, you are up above it. You're high up above it. There's a mall on the north side, I believe, there that has some chain stores in it, but you're down below is this big piece of land. And so, listen, this is a cool thing if you saw that Cranes report from the summer or were perhaps spooked by Jerry's meeting with the Nashville mayor during the winter meetings, and you were afraid that the White Sox were going to leave the city or leave the south side, even to go to the suburbs or the south suburbs or anywhere else that might remain convenient for a lot of the fan base. Something like this shows you that there is perhaps a hope that if the White Sox were to leave Guaranteed Rate Field, they could end up staying on the south side, which I think is a cool thing because, listen, the way we identify these two teams in this town is by the part of town that they're in. And if the White Sox, the south side's team, ends up in Naperville or somewhere like that kind of strips away a lot of the identity that goes with this franchise. So whether this ends up happening one day in the future or not, the idea that the White Sox could achieve both finding a new stadium, finding a site for a new stadium and building a new stadium, as well as maintaining that south side identity, I think that should be exciting to a lot of fans because it allows this organization to keep kind of the, part of the appeal, I think, that it has with a lot of their fan base.
Yeah, and as you said, Vinny, this offseason and for the last couple of years, it's been all bad when you bring up the White Sox, especially when the national media gets involved. And so when you get something this positive, gets people talking, gets people thinking and imagining, when the best part about setting up a vacation is the anticipation of where you're going, how it's going to be. And this is kind of like that. It's like, oh my God, there's endless possibilities. The White Sox could build on this land with the beautiful view. What type of ballpark will they have? Will it be a retractable roof? Will it have this, that, and the other? And so the planning and the thinking as White Sox fans of, man, we haven't had a new stadium and something to get excited about in a long, long time. And so in this desert of badness, this is the oasis that, as you said, could just be a nothing, can be something that just goes by the wayside. I remember back in the day when the White Sox were thinking about moving from the original Krinsky Park. I was living in Addison at the time, and they were talking about maybe moving to Addison, and that never, ever happened, of course, as Jerry Reinsdorf railroaded this thing through the Illinois legislation to get his stadium that he's at right now. But it's a good thing to imagine that the White Sox are in a premium spot with a premium stadium that tourists would come to by the thousands to see it. It's already got good infrastructure right there. The red line runs alongside, so does the green line. It's close by, not as close as it is at Guaranteed Rate, but it's right there. And they would have to do some more infrastructure for the roads. But if this comes to fruition, I think that the White Sox would come to like a nice level where the Cubs are kind of the champions in this league and in this city. Like they're really like the big boss and the bully of this city, where you probably 75% of the fans in this city are Cub fans, and what people talk about are Cub fans. You get a world-class stadium like that, White Sox get started talked about, and people start going to that ballpark from other places in this world and say, hey, I'm going to Chicago. I'm not just going to go to Wrigley Field. I'm going to whatever Sox Park is in the South Loop. And so this is exciting times for the White Sox on this day to get some positive news.
It would be huge for the team because I think they get another chance to build the right stadium. Guaranteed Rate Field is fine, but it's equivalent to an outdoor mall. There's nothing really special about it. It is very run of the mill. And you brought up just the ton of parking lots around Guaranteed Rate Field. There are 70 acres of parking lots.
That's so
around
many.
Guaranteed Rate Field.
So many.
It's more than the plot of land that they're buying.
Exactly.
So to put this into perspective, because Carm was even jumping in, the 21st ranked sports media personality in Chicago, Mark Carman, jumped in and said the Sox-Bears complex will be great. I get people wondering why the Bears aren't acquiring this property, but if you look at all the acreage, Wrigley is on 4 acres. Soldier Field is on 7 acres. I mean, if you're including the park, I guess Guaranteed Rate Field right now is like 75 acres or so.
If you're including the parking.
Parking.
Right.
And then the plot of land that they're buying right now, 62 acres. They can make it a more condensed and streamlined, sleek and sexy option for Chicago. But, at least for the Bears, 62 acres. Arlington Park is on 362 acres. Yeah. They are looking to build a 100,000 capacity stadium. This is not the right place for the Bears. This is a way better spot for a ballpark than a football stadium / cathedral / multi-purpose, massive venue, right? I mean, if Taylor Swift comes, it's going to be out in Arlington Field. If they ever try to build the Sphere, it's probably going to be likely within Arlington Park in the stadium. I'm not making any sense.
Cool.
But it's just a lot of acreage for Soldier Field, and it doesn't make sense for the Bears, but it makes a lot more sense for the White Sox. The biggest thing, you showed it in your picture right there, you got the skyline in the photo. I was there, and AJ said he was there in this area in the morning, and it's massive. A lot of trains over there. So according to the 78's website, there's going to be a nearby L station at Roosevelt and State and Cermak in Chinatown. There's also going to be a new Red Line station at Clark and 15th Street. There's going to be water taxis to and from the Loop, Lake, and North Branch. There's going to be strategic curbside pickup and drop-off locations for car services. This isn't for a ballpark layout either. This is more to turn into the 78th neighborhood. Maybe you still call it, Comiskey. I don't know what the hell you'd call the neighborhood. But there's also going to be on-site parking and bicycle storage, and then an express shuttle to and from Union Station, Ogilvie Transportation Center. So it should, even though it might not be more direct, it should offer more options for transportation, right? And it's should be like what the Braves are offering to their fans, a large complex that's sprawling. It's not just the ballpark. Same with what the Ricketts are trying to do in Wrigleyville. Same with what Steve Cohen's trying to do in New York. It's trying to make this a place that you can stay before the game and after the game. Let's spend 8 hours in Comiskeyville.
Yeah.
There's your neighborhood name.
Yeah. And I think
I don't know about a Ville.
I don't know if you've been to Atlanta and the Battery Park area. It's beautiful. It's great. There's a lot of things to do in that area, but it's not in Atlanta proper. It's far north of Atlanta.
That's what the Bears thing would be.
Yes, exactly. And so this is more like it's great and it's more in the city. You could be in the city and have all those arteries to do things, the infrastructure there to do a lot of things, but in the city and just staying in that area would be just phenomenal for tourists to come in and see a brand new stadium in a world-class city with the best skyline in baseball, or in the United States at least.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of distinctions to make, and I think that's maybe the big one there is that, the Sun-Times reported the idea would be to make this giant, I guess, White Sox-owned complex, right, exactly, that would have not just a stadium at it, but all the other stuff to go along with it. Personally, when I hear, a corporate, completely lack of spontaneity, lack of organic, come to see our bars and restaurants and our stores. Like, I don't know if you've been up to Wrigleyville lately, but it's not very cool. You know what I mean? No, it's very, you talk about an outdoor mall. That's what Wrigleyville seems like now, because it's all chain stores and chain entertainment, companies and stuff like that. Now, if you're coming in from Iowa or Wheaton to go see a Cub game, maybe that appeals to you. But I guess the point being that forget all the parking lots. You know what I mean? Like, there's just not going to be much parking. And guess what? They do it perfectly fine up there on the north side. There's no parking up there, and people still come to fill that ballpark up. Taking the L or the Metro or anything like that, it's not difficult. And if there's a reason to go besides just the ball game, it could be really, really appealing to folks. It would jazz up that neighborhood a bit because South Loop, for having a few things here or there, the cool places to go are kind of few and far between in that part of town. To be able to have that would be to be able to have a giant new area would be pretty good. But and then it's connected, right? It's connected to Chinatown. It's not far from Pilsen. You can get to the West Loop where we are pretty easily. I think that's all pretty cool, and that would all be a great idea to build that area up. I mean, hey, taking the water taxi to a game. Now we're talking
cool.
some volunteer Navy kind of stuff right there. Get people in the summer to park all the boats on the. You miss your tailgate parking lot. You could tailgate on the river. How about that?
So you're a great point. The Chicago Sports Bum. Bologna Fonseca brought that up, double-decker pontoon boat with the slide coming off the top deck, right? You could tailgate on the pontoon. I think it's a great idea. I think that if this is happening and there's a new stadium within 2028, we got to see CHGO tailgate on a pontoon boat. I think, that's a great idea.
Yeah, that's the White Sox fans' thing. They, since they have a bunch of acreage of parking, they take advantage of it when they have a chance, and tailgating is a main part of White Sox fandom. But I'm sure they would get over it if they didn't have any parking lots as if they have right now, and then they had extra things to do while you're at the ballpark, a restaurant, bar, where the White Sox would benefit from these things, and then hopefully put that right back into the team or the stadium. But as we're talking about Wrigleyville or Wrigley Field and Wrigleyville, they collect all that money, and they pretty much are supposed to put it back into the team. We haven't seen that as yet, but they own that whole area. Even though it is a mall, there's good places around there, as AJ says. I love a Raising Cane's myself, but I'm not a fan.
That's what we're shouting out. Is the fast food chicken place?
It's pretty good.
I do like Raising Cane's. I like a nice box
really
combo.
nice.
It's nice.
Their sauce is so good.
Delicious.
They got the nice little ice, like the cute
Butter, the
ball
toast
ice.
on both sides.
But you should have your stadium that you, Jerry Reinsdorf, and or private financiers public or privately fund. This is the problem I have with this stadium. I'm already hearing whispers from White Sox fans. Oh, of course they're going to get public funds. Pause on that. It's their stadium. I can't walk into Guaranteed Rate Field, even though we publicly funded that stadium, and say, hey, this is my stadium that as a taxpayer I paid for. If it's your stadium, baby, do what you want to do with your stadium, but don't ask for $1 from us. We'll pay for some infrastructure because we benefit from infrastructure on 365, and this year 366 days. But as far as public financing a stadium, follow the California model. If you ask for public money, you put that to a vote. If you don't get a majority, then you have to pay for your own stadium. I think the Cubs asked for that. They got rejected, and now you see what they have done with that, with their own damn money, and they're making that money back tenfold. So it's a smarter play to do anyways when you pay for your own stadium.
I would love for that to happen. I don't know. I'm not a big. My expertise is more like fastball spin than like public equity and public funding.
Isn't that the case with all of us?
Again, yeah. I would love for Jerry Reinsdorf to fund this all, but I don't understand how money works. So, I'm not.
Somebody would jump at the idea of paying for that stadium. A big-time venture capitalist place, a bank would love to give Jerry a bunch of money so he can pay them back instead of giving public funds to build his private stadium.
And two, again, this lease that they have with the HFA?
I believe it's the ISFA,
it's in here.
the Illinois Sports Facilities Authority.
That lease ends in 2029. If you were able to secure this land in 2024, hopefully you'd be able to have an actual stadium designed by 2025, and it took them 2 years to build Guaranteed Rate Field. Could you possibly have a stadium ready for 2027, 2028? Also, hey, that's a pretty good time for a 92-year-old Jerry Reinsdorf to dip out. Look at our lovely new stadium that was privately financed by a bank. And plus, hey, the 100th anniversary of the All-Star Game is going to come up soon. We had the first one in Chicago, got a brand new, lovely stadium to host the 100th anniversary
happening.
of the All-Star Game. It does seem like a good time to dip if you are Jerry Reinsdorf.
I mean, I would if Jerry Reinsdorf's not dipping, he's not leaving. He's going to be owning this team until his passing, which I hope is 50 years from now. But this is the way where your legacy you can further in a good fashion, where you talked about guaranteed rate and how I think most White Sox fans think about that stadium. They love the stadium. They hate how it was built and what how Jerry got it done, where he's getting Big Jim Thompson, the former governor of Illinois, to push it past the deadline of where they need to go, because he was saying, I'm going to move to Tampa unless you give me this stadium. That's not going to work this time for Illinois taxpayers. By the way, Illinois taxpayer, we're still $50 million on the hook for the guaranteed rate field, which will be paid off by 2028. But that's how much this stadium has been costing us since it's been built. This is why I don't want public funds, because we're still going to be paying for Soldier Field after the Bears leave. And so these are the reasons why you should always, always, always insist on private money to be paying for private buildings, unless we're getting some type of access to this thing. And Steven has a good point right there on the super chat.
Yeah, we're going to take a break. We're going to go to Comment Theater in just a second. I was going to bring up Steven's comment that he didn't super chat because it was a really good point, and then he comes in with the $20 super chat. So thanks, Steven. We appreciate it. $20.
And Steven's a diehard too.
Yes, Steven is a diehard. $20 super chat from our guy Steven saying not wanting to die on this hill, but the Cubs did get funding through credits they received once they received landmark status over $100 million. So
Tax
maybe
incentives is fine, but that's fine. But I'm not talking about like publicly funding the building.
Well, and that's the one thing too. I mean, you scroll up to I think Justin, who said he doesn't want it to have a company name or a company attached to it, right? You don't want it to have the guaranteed rate field. You know, you'd like the name to be White Sox Park. If it's going to be privately built, it will have a company name on it. Like
it's Truist in Atlanta.
Right.
That's not gonna be. It's not gonna be Turner Field. It's Truist.
The only thing you can hope for is that it's a beloved Chicago company sponsoring the name. Portillo's Park, anyone?
True. The Prudential is leaving their skyrise that they built, and they're taking the name with them. Prudential Park?
Is that a Chicago company?
I don't know, but there's Prudential Insurance has been in Chicago for
think so.
That
50
building,
years.
yeah, sure.
I mean, I don't know. I could look it
right
up.
next to Aon.
Prudential Financial. I don't know. I'll try to find that out. Anyways, you guys want to step into a little bit of ComEd Theater while I look up where Prudential...
Yes.
It says traded in New York, founded in New Jersey.
Did you know, Sean and Vinny, it is easier for businesses to switch to electric vehicles. That's something we all can get behind for the health of the planet and for the well-being of all of us who share it, Vinny.
That's a great point, Herb. The electric grid is evolving to meet your cleaner energy needs as we all move with confidence toward an electric tomorrow. Whether you have one delivery van or a whole fleet of shipping trucks, ComEd can help guide you to make the changes that make sense.
So what should business owners do, Vinny?
Great question, Herb. They should go to ComEd.com/clean to learn more about the resources, fleet rebates, and infrastructure incentives available to help businesses go electric. If you, yes, you own a business, don't wait. Start making your plan today to switch to electric vehicles. They're good for business, good for the planet, good for all of us. Go to ComEd.com/clean.
Did you say ComEd.com/clean?
Indeed, I did. Go now and see how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come.
Great job, gentlemen. Let's let people know about our friends over at Empire Today. 588-2300 Empire Today. With Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on their quality, speed, and service, so competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. Empire keeps shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Their philosophy is to help you find what you need and not overwhelm you with thousands and thousands of choices. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in, and you can check out their selection with their virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/CHGO for details. all listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code CHGO over at EmpireToday.com/CHGO.
Now, I don't know if this has ever happened before in the history of CHGO, but during the ComEd read, I received my ComEd bill.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
That's a first. Congratulations.
Someone's listening to you.
And Blank Name's giving you guys an A+ on the ComEd read. So I don't think we've gotten a lot of A+. I know Blank Name's a tough grader. So, I mean, you guys should take that and give yourself a little pat on the back there. All right. So to continue with the 78 talk, I do have a uncle who is a city worker, and I asked him, is it a nice area, and could it actually be like the 78th neighborhood as the plot is currently built? He said yes, it's small, but when it was being designed, it was going to be a tech hub, relocating Metro tracks and adding a stop, and that Crooked people owned the property before, but now Midwest Related is a top-notch developer that should put it back on track, and it does seem like the White Sox are getting closer and closer to a deal, and in that Sun-Times piece, Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, and White Sox chairman put out a joint statement in a written statement in response to the Sun-Times questions about the sources that they got the lead on this story. And the statement said, "We met to discuss the historic partnership between the team and Chicago and the team's idea for remaining competitive in Chicago in perpetuity." What do we make of that?
Sounds like they talked about the White Sox not moving outside of the city.
But do you think that would mean maybe public funding?
I mean, you only talk to the mayor if you want to grease the skids. You want to try to get some type of public funding. I mean, because if the mayor in the city doesn't own the land, why are you talking to the mayor? You're trying to get some type of initial idea of what can be done as far as the city's contribution. And then, of course, I think if we go down the line here, he will talk to whatever the governor is at the time, whether it's J.B. Pritzker or past that. So, yeah, I do not blame Jerry for getting into conversations with the politicians. He should do that. He should understand where he stands as far as the mayor is willing to give up land. I mean, the mayor is talking to Kevin Warren, too, currently, the Bears CEO, about staying in the city proper, even though I think that's way down the road, as Vinnie has detailed earlier in the show, Arlington Heights, and they've already bought the land. It's got a lot of acreage. That's down the road. So I'm sure that Jerry and Brandon were talking about, hey, what would the city could do for us as far as bonds, things of that nature, to have the White Sox stay in the city. Because I don't know where Brandon Johnson's head is, but maybe he got a little spooked when the Nashville comments were brought up and the meeting of the mayor down there when we were down in Nashville for the winter meetings. But it's always good to talk to the mayor to see where his head's at. And if Jerry could try to get some public money on it, he probably will and probably should.
Yeah, EV's asking, no troll, what does this mean for the Nashville rumors as you bring up that the mayor of Nashville?
Mayor of Nashville.
Yes. Mayor of Nashville, O'Connell, met with Jerry Reinsdorf, and it was introductory in nature. And we know that Jerry Reinsdorf is very good friends with Tony La Russa. We know that Tony La Russa is very good friends with Dave Stewart. We know that Dave Stewart is leading the charge to bring an expansion team to Nashville. So
we also know that Jerry is one of the longest-serving owners in baseball and one of the more influential owners in baseball over the last 40 years, during a time during which there have been multiple expansion teams added to Major League Baseball.
So at the end of the day, what this means, and I can't believe that I'm actually going to do this, but if this does mean that the White Sox are going to stay in Chicago for perpetuity, as the statement says, whether it's publicly funded or not, the White Sox staying in the South Side is exactly what I've always wanted. So Jerry Reinsdorf, if he's able to secure this deal and start building a plan for a stadium, whether it faces the skyline or not, the fact that it would be in the South Loop of Chicago is exactly what I want. So Jerry Reinsdorf, I'll give you credit.
You don't get that close to not face the skyline, Sean.
Well, so should we talk about that?
Yes.
It would be very weird because I was on, what street was it? Is it Wentworth? Wentworth goes north, and then it turns into Wells, and that kind of twists. Wentworth goes kind of like a little curvy up to the left near the river.
Hold on, I'm busting out my Google Maps.
Yeah, it's a very odd place. And where I shot a short that's currently on our YouTube channel, it's on our TikTok, it's on our Instagram. I'm on Wentworth facing north, and that's where I got the ability to see the entire skyline. So
right next to the park. You're right east of the park. Yeah.
Right. So it is weird though, because the park is a little bit more, I guess, west, because I'm facing north. So it's a little bit more west. So I don't know if you can exactly get the skyline shot, exactly what you need. And as my city worker uncle friend said, there's a lot of train tracks over there. So a lot of stuff will have to be moved and cleaned out. It's very grassy, as you can kind of see. You were wondering if it was concrete at all. There's a lot of stone and gravel where the train tracks are, but past the train tracks, and as you can see on the screen right now, past those train tracks is a ton of grass. And then over that grass is where the river is. Those train tracks right there are the Metra Rock Island line that goes from the south side up to, I can't think of the train stop now. It's not Ogilvy or Union.
It's the one that goes into our building that we used to be in, Prudential?
Nope, not that one, because it was a little bit of a walk. It was like a 15-minute walk.
Oh, well. the one in the middle of Grant Park?
Nope.
It's all right. We know.
But Millennium Station?
Not Millennium
But
Station.
think about this, Sean. Like, you could have that as part of the stadium. That can be underneath the stadium or wherever you need to have it. That could be
LaSalle Street.
Yeah. So you can have that as a part of the stadium, as a like kind of a nice quirky thing that, oh man, if you want to come right into whatever the stadium's called, we have a train stop right below the stadium, and you get dropped off in the basement. Come your punk ass up to Guaranteed Rate 2.
Yeah, well, you bring up the field name. AJ's got a super chat for us. We appreciate it with the $2 super chat, AJ. Introducing FX's The Bear Stadium, streaming on... Wait.
Go up there.
Now I blocked it. Introducing FX's The Bear, streaming on Hulu's Stadium. Very nice from AJ. The view, I think, is possible to include the skyline, but it might not be that picture perfect framed skyline shot.
I think it's just still too far away from downtown, right? I mean, we're talking about, there are stadiums in baseball that have that incredible vista beyond the outfield. But that's because they were able to put those stadiums right next to those buildings or in close proximity enough to those buildings. You've seen the pictures that Sean and I have posted, the video that you posted today, Sean, the picture that I posted from being back at Pington Park a couple years back. You're still far away, and it's a nice view, and it's a lovely view, but like, let's not pretend like if you're standing at home plate, you're going to get the Chicago skyline right in your face. You're going to probably get a nice view from the upper deck, but it's going to be a little further off. And so that should not prohibit them from trying, You can still get some lovely views on the broadcast. And like I said, especially from the upper deck. But, it's not right in your face. Even Soldier Field, which is right there in Grant Park, right there, across Lakeshore Drive from a bunch of high-rise buildings. It's not necessarily that perfectly framed view that you would hope for. And so I think that, you've got to be a little bit realistic in that you're not going to get what's the one drawing of the proposed ballpark down at Armour Square where it's like ballpark and then Sears Tower. It's like, it's not that close.
It's like falling
you can't
on you.
do that.
Right. I think Jared up there brought up the Scorer's article on the Armour Square Park building, and then also there was a book on that. I can't find the book name. Pardon me on that. An architect from Notre Dame ended up writing it because he was a part of the designing of what the Armour Square Park could have looked like. But yeah, it does seem like it's in a better spot for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely a great move, and even if you can't get the skyline or not, it's still the right step for this franchise. Blank Name brings up the own McCovey Cove with the river. The way that it is structured, if you were facing the ballpark north, the third baseline would have the river. So it really wouldn't be any splash shots.
So
if home plate was facing the skyline...
If home plate was facing the skyline, then the river... the river would be the left field corner.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, like left
Basically,
field corner,
right.
and then over like anything over third base. So like if you were on down the third base line,
if
the river would be at your back.
if the third base line was parallel with the river, then home plate would be facing toward the lake, right? It'd be northeast.
Yeah.
Home plate would be facing northeast to center field.
And I think you got to face it north if you want the skyline shot.
Yeah.
Sure, but then it's sitting at like this in a diagonal, Sean, because the plot of land is like this, so home plate would have to be like this.
As we're talking about all these problems, these are good problems. Like, Vinny, I think you always bring up, like, baseball and their unique stadiums is what it makes baseball fun. You know, you go to a basketball game, they're the same. It's 94 feet. It's all the same once you get into the building. Baseball, you can have different. You can have, if you wanted the green monster type of thing, like he's talking about, the McCovey Cove, but a high left field. You can have a shorter left field, like a 315 left field, but that ball goes over the fence, splash down. Or if you want to face it more towards the skyline, you can have a shorter right field and a long-ass center field, like the Polo Grounds back in the day. So this is an opportunity for the White Sox to get very creative if they're down the road on this and make a very unique stadium. And it doesn't look like there's a lot of land like out. You can build the stadium up instead of building like Guaranteed Rate is. It's kind of built back, and so the upper deck was so far away, and that's how they kind of chopped off the first 10 rows or the last 10 rows of that building. But go back to the old stadiums where you build the stadium pretty much up, like kind of Wrigley's kind of cozy, and you're just on top of each other. But sans the obstructed views of Wrigley, though.
Yeah, right. Without the poles.
Not the big-ass poles in front of your face.
Got a little bit more on the stadium. A couple more directional stuffs and maybe view stuff on what they could make this ballpark to be like. Obviously, it is a great step for the franchise. Got two advertisers that we do want to let you know about. First off, our friends over at Circa Sportsbook. Go download their app at circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Download the world's largest sportsbook at your fingertip. They are originally from Las Vegas. They run the Circa Resort and Casino, and all aspects of the app are running by the same team that runs the main Circa Sportsbook in Las Vegas. You're not going to have to deal with chatbots if you run into any issues. The team that runs the app is the same team that runs the Circa Sportsbook in Las Vegas. And the best part about Circa Sportsbook, it is the world's largest sportsbook. They're always trying to offer you, the sports bettor, the best line. They also don't limit players based on their winnings. Every player has the same limits, unlike other books who do limit players, and they want to encourage you to download and explore all sports betting apps available so you can get the best price possible for your wager. So download the Circa Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app. That's circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also be on the lookout for Circa events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537, text GMB 833-234. Visit AreYouReallyWinning.com. Also want to let you know about our friends over at Ray Chevy. Our partner at Ray Chevrolet is ringing in the new year with their best offers all month long. Make your way to Ray Chevrolet on Route 12 in Fox Lake to join in on the savings and start your Ray resolution. As one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories. But right now, they're trying to make room for inbound 2024 models, so all their current inventory must go. Plus, you can find the perfect tailgating vehicles at Ray Chevy because they have over 100 new Silverados available with prices starting at $19,495.
What a deal.
Yeah, what a deal. Or take up to $10,000 off a new 2023 Silverado. And to top it all off, they're pricing over 125 vehicles under $20,000. Seriously, pricing cannot get more affordable. And you can get a free oil change.
It could if Sean was running the place.
That's true. And you can get a free oil change. Mention CHGO when you schedule your oil change at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake. Start off the new year right. Visit Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com to start your Ray resolution. They've been serving the community since 1963. Find new roads. Good job, Sarah, for finishing off that tagline.
I had my mic muted, thank God, because I just talk. I just always say what you guys say.
Hey, I mean, we're singing along.
As Justin said, as Blank Name says, I do like Justin Velasco's ideas. Work with the towers to light up during home games and light up the river with the lights and exploding pinwheels around the water with Sox-painted taxis.
Yes, but that seems like a lot of synergy there from the city of Chicago.
I'll tell you one thing too. How about this? Chicago has a long history, Chicago and the Chicagoland area, long history of building canals, from back in the day when you had to move grain up and down canals to get to the Mississippi River and whatnot. How about you just dig a little canal right around the ballpark to flow in with the river? Moat around the ballpark.
Oh, my God.
I
Look
like
at Vinny out here.
And we can make a drawbridge, too. To open up the park.
That's how you get in, like you're going into Disneyland.
All the people at a Cowboy Stadium, there's certain standing room only seats.
Well, they got to run in and
they
shit.
got to run in.
Oh, really?
It's just you wait for the drawbridge to drop and then you run in.
There you go.
People be jumping on top of the drawbridge, falling into the water, trying to get in.
It's like the Buffalo Bills fan. Before every single game, one Bills fan sacrifices themselves to the pit. Currently, there's a pit for where their new stadium is going to be built, and ever since they started doing this 6 weeks ago, they're 6-0. And a fan has thrown themselves into where the new stadium is being built into the pit.
And they die?
No, it's not that deep.
Oh, okay.
I think they're fine. I think it'd be more of a story of fans were
killing themselves?
self-sacrificing
That would be bad.
in name of the Bills' Super Bowl chances.
Yikes.
Let's go to Twitter. I did find this interesting thing from a screenshot of Quero based off of something from the Baseball Almanac. It's Rule 1.04, quote, the playing field. It is desirable that the line from home base through the pitcher's plate to second base shall run east-northeast. The location of the owner's box, prevailing wind directions, and a multitude of other reasons have caused Rule 1.04 to be ignored by Major League Baseball teams. So the White Sox have ignored this. As you can see, Pittsburgh, Cincy, the White Sox, Milwaukee, Texas, and Detroit have all ignored this rule. If they were to face it northeast or east-northeast, that really would be more towards the lake rather than the skyline. I don't know if this is a rule that they're going to follow. They didn't follow it 30 years ago, but it is a rule.
That would probably be the worst way.
Look, if they didn't follow it, it's not like they would be outside of that 180 degrees, right?
Yeah.
So if you'll notice, there is no ballpark currently facing really west at all.
Yes.
But the angle that you gentlemen are saying that you would want to face the skyline from that piece of property would be in line with Cubs. 6 or 7 ballparks, right? No,
Arizona?
I think you'd want Arizona, right? That would be the ideal one. But also Houston, Toronto, San Diego, Cleveland, Colorado, Philly, and the Mets would all give you pretty much that same view.
And again,
that's very interesting.
It could be ignored.
And you could just also not do that, right?
I just love how strict it is. We would love for it to face east-northeast, but if you have an owner's box, wind direction, maybe you just don't like it, you could just ignore the rule.
Yeah, and just the proximity to the lake would bring so many different things to that stadium, as we see with Wrigley. It's kind of the same distance away from the lake as what Wrigley would be, and you would get different weather days. So just a uniqueness of that stadium. I would just go with that stadium built just for that reason alone. Because, as you said, I love guaranteed rate field, but I've been to 20 or 19 other stadiums. It's pretty mediocre as far as stadiums around the world, even though it's only 33 years old. A built new stadium where you can get it right, where he was offered the Baltimore Orioles stadium, and that would have been a great thing. We would have kept that stadium, and we would have been kicking it still for years to come if we had the Orioles stadium. But this is another chance for Jerry to get this right and to build a world-class stadium. Oh, man, I'm just looking forward to more talks, and hopefully this gets down the road because, man, it would be just so premium that the White Sox would have people actually come to Chicago to see their stadium. Like they do with Wrigley Field already.
One thing I will just bring up, and obviously White Sox fans should be excited about the prospect of a new stadium. It's fun. It's glitzy. It gets people down there. That's why they do that, right? But, man, do you really think when they opened Guaranteed Rate Field in 1991, they were like, about 35 years and then we'll get a new one?
No.
Woo.
No.
That's crazy. I mean, and listen, they're not the only ones. Certainly Atlanta.
Texas.
They
built a new stadium and after getting a new one in the 90s, like you said, Sean, Texas. But, man, think about this. The most celebrated ballparks in the country are Fenway Park and Wrigley Field, and they're both over 100 years old. Everywhere else, 35 years, we want a new one.
Yeah,
I mean, that's crazy. Wouldn't you build it with the idea that it was going to stand forever?
Yeah.
Right? That's wild to me.
You
That's
think,
wild.
and I mean, hey, I'll give the Yankees credit. They waited like at least 100 years to knock down that stadium, and then they just
built the same
they
fucking
just
stadium.
built the same one. So I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world, you know. Yeah, I mean, this stadium's older than me. Like I mean, this stadium is 1990. Like I wasn't even around, and they're
Vinnie was
already
barely
knocking it
around.
down. Yeah, right. They built it in what 89 to 90 for
It
137 million. Then had 118 million worth of renovations from 2020 or 2001 to 2007, and then that was it. So I mean, if you use 2022 dollars, I think it's like near around 400 million that they used to construct Guaranteed Rate Field, and now it's just gonna sit there.
Well,
State of Illinois
maybe,
owns it.
Maybe.
Maybe the Chicago Fire come in.
Maybe. I still don't know if we can. I don't think. I mean, listen. Serious talks. I'm sure the Sun Times have done their due diligence here, but I'm not sure that one report about serious talks means that the White Sox and Guaranteed Rate Field are destined for a 2029 divorce.
Yeah, AJ, I think it's Boston, Wrigley, Dodger Stadium, Angels Stadium, and then maybe Oakland, which will be gone, and then
Kansas City.
Yeah, Kauffman Stadium. I forgot that was like in the 70s, and then the White Sox are pretty much right there because they started the new revolution of people starting new stadiums, and from HOK.
Fenway 1912, Wrigley 1914, Dodger 1962, Angel Stadium 1966, Oakland Alameda 1966, Kauffman 1973, Rogers Center, Tropicana, Guaranteed Rate Field.
Tropicana?
Yeah, 89, 90, and then Guaranteed Rate Field was 91. Oriole Park at Camden was 92, Progressive was 94, and then Coors 95. I can keep going. If we just want to go through all three, anyway, or all 30. Anyways, I think it's probably too soon, but if it's built right, maybe it does last 100 years. You know, like if it is a true neighborhood, if it is truly the full-fledged 7 billion, 62-acre plot of land within the middle of downtown, it seems like a pretty good business idea. I'm not a businessman, but it seems pretty good. I get why Jerry Reinsdorf would want to be interested.
If you've got the billions, right, I suppose, but... No, listen, you're right. It would be interesting. There's stuff, and it would change that neighborhood over entirely as well. I think the thing that I'm sure I said it earlier today, but the thing that I've said about currently standing Sox Park right now is that while Bridgeport I think is a great neighborhood for the ballpark to be in, the prevalence of all those parking lots puts it on an island and makes it so 99% of people aren't walking through the neighborhood, aren't walking down the street to go to a watering hole or a restaurant. And it would be cool if you could have some of that nearby to turn it into that real neighborhood feel. And that's the thing that the thing that is the most interesting about this is that they could move and still keep that and still have that and still, even perhaps improve on what they have currently. But, the idea that a ballpark is in a neighborhood is so rare across the country, and we here in Chicago are fortunate enough to have it twice.
Yep.
And I think that is so valuable, and that's what you really should cherish about whether you're a Cub fan or a Sox fan. And the idea that they could move and keep that is really neat.
I know that some people are opposed to this, but would you guys be opposed to a retractable roof at this new proposed stadium? Because I think that would be the best thing for the city to host things that are not, White Sox related. Concerts like they have at Wrigley Field right now, you could just have them all year long and then have passive income coming in from these things, these events that they have. I know baseball purists don't like to have roofs, but hey, man, when you go to the ballpark, you want to be sure that they're going to be playing a game. And I think up in Miller Park, they've shown you that every time they have a game is being played.
Give me Safeco's / T-Mobile's retractable roof and basically make the window of the back of the stadium open, so you have the roof close over, but there's still a little window where you can see the skyline.
Yeah, that's
what I'm
Miller
saying.
Park has that in the background.
Have it.
Well, it's tall though.
Roof.
It's just a wall of windows, which is better than a wall of wall, I suppose. But Yeah, I mean, listen, as someone who doesn't like sitting through rain delays, it would be nice to have it be a thing of the past. But at the same time, I don't know. To me, a baseball stadium's outside. It makes it a little less personable if you throw up the infrastructure needed to have a retractable roof. But, I like going to Miller Park. I think Minute Maid Park in Houston is a real fun stadium. But at the same time, I would probably prefer not having it on there, so you can maybe have it be a little lower and just kind of have it be give it more of a park atmosphere, which I think is neat.
We're going to have an architect on the show, won't we?
We are.
Yeah,
it's true.
How about that? Alejandro saying, no White Sox players worn 78, so hey, maybe they could retire it.
Alejandro's stealing Connor's bit.
They open up the stadium. Yeah, right. And it's just Googling numbers. Right before we hit a FOCO read, I got one thing after the break on a top White Sox prospect coming out on Twitter, but just wanted to add this from Rob Hart, who works over at WBBM, at Rob Hart WBBM on Twitter. He had a thread about the 78 and the White Sox moving here, and he ends by saying, those who read Chili Dog MVP by John P. Owens knows that the White Sox tried to market Comiskey Park as Chicago's downtown ballpark in the early 70s, and it never really stuck with the public. This could be their chance to do it again and drive it home and be Chicago's downtown ballpark.
I'm sorry, it didn't stick with the public? Is that because it's nowhere near downtown?
I guess so.
Oh, wow. This is downtown. Way fucking away from downtown.
Chicago's downtown ballpark, now located in Bridgeport.
Yeah.
Downtown adjacent.
All right, guys. This is the Tim Anderson bobblehead from FOCO that you know and love. Here he is being ghosted by a red line train at Sox 35th. If they build this new ballpark on this tract of land, he could be ghosted at Roosevelt by trains on 3 different lines. Red line, green line, orange line. They'd have to change the whole bobblehead. But if and when they do, you can get it at FOCO. Go get fitted out in the best sports gear around. They've got hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. It's always baseball season, so go ahead and get yourself an Aloha shirt, a straw hat, a polo, and that bag set. Even though the new park might not have parking lots, you can still play it, on your boat in the river. Everything you could possibly need for a game. You've seen the TA bobblehead. You've seen the Southpaw bobblehead. Now go show them some love. Check out FOCO.com or click the link in the description below. For all non-presale items, use the promo code CHGO10 for 10% off.
Thank you very much, Vinny.
You're welcome.
Final thing coming out from Francis Romero at Francis Romero FR, writer and researcher for MLB. White Sox are inviting Cuban prospect catcher Edgar Quero to MLB spring training per sources. Quero, 20 years old, was baseball's number 81st prospect in 2023, according to MLB Pipeline. He was included on their top 10 catching prospects as well. I think he came in at 7th, and his brother Jefferson Quero came in at 3, who's a prospect with the Brewers. It does worry me a little bit, though, because we did talk about Noah Schultz being a top 50 prospect. We talked about Colson Montgomery being at 11 and 15, respectively, in Baseball America and Baseball Prospectus top 100 and top 101 prospect list. But what I didn't bring up, Baseball America did not have Edgar Quero as a top 100 prospect. They listed Brian Ramos and Nick Nastrini even closer to being top 100 prospects than Edgar Quero. I don't know if that's a huge worry, because some prospect rankings still feel like Edgar Quero is a top 100 prospect. Obviously, one didn't, but the guy that's supposed to replace Martin Maldonado or Max Stassi in 2024, and it's in the 2024 now, in 2025, it seems like he's waning off a little bit. Maybe it seems like his stock's fallen off a little bit.
I mean, those are just, opinions of people who watch baseball all the time. But I'm sure people are very excited. He's only, 20 years old, 21 years old? And to
20, I think. He's still 20, I think.
Yeah, 20, yeah. April 6th is his birthday.
Baby. And it's perfect that he comes to spring training to learn under Martin Maldonado, Max Stassi, if you will, and to get some type of veteran leadership. Because if he is going to be taken over in 25 or 26, he'll need to know what to do and how the Sox culture. This is why these guys were brought in, to bring some type of culture and how to call games, how to understand what the opposing team is doing, and to get the tutelage under Martin Maldonado in spring training. And I'm sure that he's a good teacher, as we've heard from your favorite guy, Corey Lee. that he teaches. He teaches you exactly how to call a game. He teaches you what he does, and it filters down. And we saw Corey Lee. I was very impressed with his leadership last year, where he just came over, even though he didn't hit that much. I felt like he took control as a catcher usually does as a veteran. So, yeah, it's good that Edgar Quero's coming here. I'm sad that he's not in the top 100 of, Baseball America. But great year this year in Birmingham and or Charlotte. By halfway through the season, he'll be up there.
Yeah, it'll be a good experience for him for sure. Herb, everything you said about getting to be with Martin Maldonado obviously applies, but don't forget the big league staff too, right? I mean, getting invited to big league spring training means you get to work with their new catching coach, Drew Butera. Means you get to work with, heck, guys, Pedro Grifol has experience as a catching coach. Not only that, he'll get to work with the pitching staff. If you're talking about a guy who's going to be handling all these pitchers in the future, right? You're going to see him, you're going to see in spring training Michael Kopech throwing to Edgar Quero. You're going to see in spring training, maybe if he's still around, Dylan Cease throwing to Edgar Quero, not to mention all the guys that maybe line up a little bit more with him in terms of the ETA, your Nestrinis, your Menas, your Eaters, your Bushes, those kind of guys.
Your Schultzes, your Crochets.
Schultz, yeah. But, hey, that's the thing, too. We spent all day yesterday being like, guys, Noah Schultz is only 20 years old. It's going to take him a while to get to the majors. Edgar Quero is also 20 years old and has already spent, a full year in Double-A. So, there's no rush to get him to the major league level. I wouldn't expect him until 2025 at the earliest. But to get this experience now working with a major league staff, working with major league coaching staff, and working with a guy in Maldonado who has just tons of experience and success doing that too. Nothing but a positive. You're going to see eventually here in the coming weeks the list of guys that the White Sox are inviting to spring training, and it's going to have a lot of guys on it, as it always does, who are parts of their future more than they are parts of their present, but that future gets started with some of the experience that you can gain through Major League Spring Training.
Well, we always kind of see, you look at Trey Turner, signs this big deal in Philadelphia. It kind of takes him a year to get adjusted. Edgar Quero is moving. Yes, it be from Rocket City to Birmingham.
Trash Pandas?
Yeah, the Trash Pandas.
Oh,
but it's still an adjustment that he has to make. And still, the age gap is huge between Double-A and where Edgar Quero is right now. 3.5 is the average age separation between where Quero is at 20 years old and the average age of Double-A. When he was in Single-A doing very well, it was just about a 2-year age difference. So kids that are closer to him, basically, like a sophomore going up against a senior team, that 2.5-year difference. The other one's basically, a freshman going up against a senior team. Like, it's just a little bit of a different vibe there. And he's had about 100 less plate appearances in Double-A than Single-A, and he was a lot better in Single-A. 304 slash line, 425 on base percentage, 517 slug. At Double-A, 255 batting average, 380 on base percentage, 350 slugging. The slugging isn't there, but you're talking about a 20-year-old that has 72 walks to 76 strikeouts. Let's see what he could do in 100 more Double-A at-bats with a full offseason of knowing the Birmingham organization, knowing these coaches, and hitting the ground running. He's only 20. It's the best catching prospect I think the Sox have had in a bit.
Well, and you're talking, too, about offensive numbers. Obviously there's a defensive element to all position player prospects that come up, and certainly we've talked a lot about Colson Montgomery and the growth maybe he still has to do defensively. But when you're a catcher, there's a lot more important boxes to check on the defensive side, compared to maybe a guy who's playing shortstop or a guy who's playing the outfield. Mm-hmm. So just because his numbers might say that he's ready, or just because his numbers maybe aren't as impressive, one way or the other, no matter what the offensive numbers say, I'm sure the White Sox are taking a closer look at what he's able to do behind the plate and than maybe what he's doing at the plate.
Exactly, because it's much more important to me, and I think most people, that a catcher is a good receiver than he is a good hitter. If he's a good hitter, they'll move him off the spot, I think, usually. But there's very much unicorns in that. Adley Rutschman is one of them.
Yeah, I mean, if the Orioles want to include Adley Rutschman in a trade, I'll be all for it. Tomorrow,
I mean, they got that Basillo behind him. Might as well.
Right.
He's old news. I mean, send Adley here.
Come on.
What else are you doing? Let Basillo play in the majors.
You
and
want-
let Adley be free.
you get to reset the catcher clock, right? You get 6 more
Yes.
years of control for Basillo. I mean, he seems like he's a really big power hitter. Cease for Rutschman straight up. Who says no?
And Adley misses Oregon
Hey,
State.
says-
I mean, it's closer to his beloved Oregon State Beaver.
Maybe they'll throw in maybe they'll throw in early '90s Cal Ripken Jr. while they're at it.
Maybe. I'd be fine for it. Also, too, I just realized, or I just saw this shared from Rob Hart as well. There is an Addison, Illinois concept, so we'll probably talk about this tomorrow, where it was a 45,000 seat retractable dome. So maybe we'll share more. More
Out in
mock-ups
the
of
burbs.
stadiums. Yeah, right. Out in Addison. Let's build it in the 78. Let's make a whole new neighborhood, and I think there's somewhere over here. Yeah, it says 77 neighborhoods. We'll make sure the White Sox part of this is moved up a little bit more, and we'll change that 77 to 78.
Just bust out a Sharpie.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. We honestly probably could.
Black and white, yeah, might as well.
Anyways, thank you for joining us, guys. Make sure that you check us out tomorrow at 3:30. We'll be live again with more White Sox coverage. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. And I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to Sarah for producing. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to our CHGO Sports channel. We got more shows later on today, and we'll be back on Friday as well, covering all your favorite teams. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.